Hey Todd, I know obviously you'll be mostly concerned about the results. That's what it's all about. But is there a point of pride starting five horses in the Belmont Stakes?
Mm, I don't know if I really think about it in those terms. We want to be successful. Uh, there is some pride in the fact that these are all horses that we brought along from the beginning of their careers, and they've developed into some nice horses. And you have a Louisiana Derby winner and an Arkansas Derby winner and a Fairgrounds Oaks winner, and so they have some very solid resumes. And Palace Malice, second the Bluegrass, he's almost won a big one. So that's what we're most proud of, is just their accomplishments up to this point, and we're hoping we can have one more big one.
Revolutionary's the second choice morning line here and ran a nice race in the Derby, obviously. Was there any thought to go into Preakness, and what was the reasoning to just concentrate on this race with him?
We felt like he's a horse that runs well with spacing between his races. It seemed to work well for him going into the Louisiana Derby, and felt like the 5 weeks from the Louisiana Derby to the Kentucky Derby suited him well. And we never considered going to the Preakness after the Derby unless he won.
I see.
And so we've been focused on the Belmont since the Derby was over.
Palace Malice, do you feel like that was, I mean, just the going to the lead in the Derby like that, do you feel like that was just kind of a one?
I think it was just kind of a perfect storm situation where, and I told Mike that the horse hadn't broken very well in its previous couple starts to try to help him out of there so he could get kind of into a good stalking position. And I think when Mike asked him to leave the gate a little bit, and then you've got a huge crowd and sloppy track and just, all of that just kind of set him off. And I don't anticipate that'll be a problem moving forward.
How do you feel like Overanalyze is coming into his race? When you watch the Derby, he does kind of make a move there when he finally gets a chance.
Yeah, I think he's coming up to it well. He's a pretty laid-back horse that doesn't overdo it in the mornings. I thought his breezes here have been very good. Yeah, I think his Derby was kind of sneaky good. It was a little better than it maybe reads on paper. He had a decent position going into the far turn, and then kind of had to get shuffled back and went from like 10th to 18th, and then kind of came back on again. So he's a horse that has won every other start of his career, and he's falling on the other start this time. So we'll see if he can continue that trend.
That mental makeup that you described, do you think that can benefit him in a race like this, or a mile and a half?
I think it very much does. I think he can turn off and relax the first part. He's been in pretty much every scenario you can think of. He's been in between, behind horses. He's been on the lead. He's pretty versatile in terms of his running style. I think he can adapt to any pace scenario. And then it'll be just kind of up to Johnny to determine where he wants to position him in the first part of the race.
Is there a comfort level for horse and humans when you're kind of running out of one of your home base tracks?
I think it makes some of the intangibles just a lot easier. When you're at your home base and you're in your own barn, and just kind of used to the routine and everything's the same, and you get to go home at night, and so it makes it a little bit easier. I don't know that it gives you a huge edge. It's the most important thing is to probably show up with the best horse, but I think it does help to kind of be at your home base.
The other day, I think if I understood you right, you were saying you don't see a whole lot against or a whole lot benefit of an off track for any of your horses, but some of it you might just sort of find out when they go out. Or
every muddy track can be different, and sometimes that even is the same at the same racetrack. You might get a sloppy track at Belmont that might be different than a muddy or a good track, and I think it's going to kind of depend on when the rain stops and then what kind of day we have. If the sun peaks out and we get a little wind, it could dry out pretty quickly and be, wet fast by the time they run the Belmont. If you get kind of an overcast, dreary day and not much wind, it might be heavy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing that we would not like is a deep, heavy, drying out racetrack. But we'll just have to see what happens.
You do have riders that are familiar with this track and kind of know sometimes where maybe the good paths can be.
Yeah, I think that's important, and also just being familiar with the 1.5 mile oval, I think, is something that's very, very important to the riders. You know, most guys are used to riding on a mile or 1.125 mile racetrack, and when you turn up the backside here, you got a mile to go. When you turn up the backside, in most places you got 6 furlongs to go. So, yeah, I think it helps to have guys that are familiar with this oval.
Thanks for your time, Tom.
And girls.